everybody. This is a fresh new episode of Osprey Observer TV. Your host, as always, Johnny Torres, and joining me, as always, Marie Gilmore, bringing you the best and the greatest of what's happening in our community. And that includes some of the people that make this community go round and make this community such a great place to live. Marie, who's our guest today?
We have an excellent guest. It's actually someone I've known in this community for over 20 years.
Wow.
Our guest today is author, father, grandfather, pastor's husband, and general overall columnist for the Osprey Observer and the Christian Voice, Derek Maul. Welcome, Derek.
Hey, Marie. It is so great to be here. I can't believe it's been such a long time since we've seen each other, but I know what John is doing, but you look younger than ever.
Oh, you are so sweet. You are too sweet. So I think I was a baby when we met.
Yes, you were 12.
I was 12, obviously, yes. Yeah. But just over 20 years ago, and we had a lunch at the brunchery, you were writing business profiles on interesting business owners in the community.
I was.
For the Tampa Tribune, the good old Mother Trib. And we had such a great working relationship that you said, hey, I think I can get it across my editors to feature the community paper. And you did.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten. I actually wrote a feature on y'all. I can say this now, but it was at first they and the editor, my editor at the time, was like, well, why would we want to give any credibility to our competition? And I said, no, this is a community. This is what's going on in the community. It looks very interesting and exciting to me. And I wouldn't be fulfilling my mission because I wrote both a column for them, but also this thing on community leaders and businesses. And they talked about it and they said, oh, okay.
The acquiesce. Because really we are collaborative. And in our view, after 22 years, and of course now we've lost our Trib, and honestly, we've lost our daily paper because, you know, I subscribe to the Times and I receive a newspaper twice a week, and the other 5 days it's online only. So it's detrimental to our community. We, as print journalists, need to support each other because we are out there covering the news that no one else is going to do. And really, we never were competition for the dailies because we're a free distribution hometown community paper that's only going to cover good news. And here we are 22 years in and still trucking, still printing good news and still writing. But you actually came on board with us as a columnist when we purchased the Christian Voice Monthly, which now, of course, is online and absorbed into the Osprey Observer. So now it's going to be direct mailed into homes in the Osprey Observer newspapers. But we kind of adopted you because you were a columnist for the Christian Voice for quite a long time. So tell us about that experience and what you write for us.
Well, gosh, so much. First of all, though, I just want to comment about what you said about journalism. So important. And we live in an era right now when journalism is under fire. We live in, I guess, what's called the post-truth era. And people are suspicious of journalism. But every journalist I know that I've ever worked with has been interested in finding out what's really going on and letting people make their own judgments. And so kudos to you for keeping this going. But yeah, what I write for you is a column which is my attempt to keep myself in the conversation in the Tampa area, but also to keep people's hearts and minds in the right place. Because even when I wrote commentary for the Tribune, my goal was to put it in a faith perspective. So say I'm writing for everybody, but I also want to include a scripture verse, something to get people thinking more deeply than themselves and the immediate surroundings, but to see how the big picture fits in with what we're up to. And I've found it, for me, it's easy because there's always something new and exciting in God's word, which is relevant to what's going on in our world. If only we listen and pay attention to one another.
Exactly. And you bring an aspect of joy as well, because it's always sort of lighthearted and an easy read, not heavy, not, I hate to use the word preachy, but it doesn't feel that way. I appreciate that you kind of take an everyday circumstance and relate it to faith. And in that way, kind of find the collaborative tie-in. And so I really enjoy reading your column on a monthly basis. And oh, what are we writing about this month?
What are we writing about this month? In fact, literally, as I was waiting in the waiting room for this, it popped up. It's the 12th, which is when I usually send something. So it'll be the 13th.
Okay.
This time. But yes, I blog every day. And so I've always got my thoughts in this direction. Blogging is how I warm up my writing engine because I don't get paid. In fact, I pay my blogging host to keep advertisements off. But it keeps me in people's consciousness, and it keeps my writing engine warmed up for when I do professional things. And I still write for a number of different outlets and still write the occasional book.
Well, and tell me about your author background. You are a published author, 5-star, award-winning. You've got a great profile of books. Tell us about those books, Derek.
Well, that's interesting because, as most writers know, everybody wants to write a book, but you can't get published. And what's interesting is my publisher, Upper Room Books, who are associated with Upper Room Ministries, part of a United Methodist Church in Nashville, they came to me. I'd written some devotionals for their magazine, and then they were talking about, well, what do we need to publish next year, whatever year that was? And somebody said, we need something for men that's not confusing Christianity with hardline politics, because there tends to be a way in which men's ministry becomes tied up with a political stance. And Jesus doesn't care who you vote for. But that wasn't very evident in a lot of men's ministry material. And so they asked me, because I'd written about it in a devotional, what do you think men need? I sent them some bullet points, and it became my first book, Get Real, A Spiritual Journey for Men, which then led to several other titles. So I was fortunate in that regard and have continued to really focus on writing for men in a lot of my work.
Okay. And tell us, obviously, your accent is not North Carolina or Florida. So tell us, how did you come to America?
Oh, wow. Well, my accent is from the South. I grew up in the South of England.
Okay.
And, so I came to America in 1975 for 2 weeks.
Okay.
One thing led to the other. One thing led to the other. Do you think they miss me by now?
I think I might have noticed.
Yeah, I think the Queen, even before she died, she probably defriended me on Facebook because I just wasn't. But I ended up meeting people, going to university at Stetson University over in DeLand. And that's where I met Rebekah. And by the time I graduated from Stetson, I had already begun to carve out a future here in the United States. Became a citizen in 1985. So I am really only, 38 years old as an American. Every time I go to England now, I carry my American passport and go, even though England recognizes dual citizenship, I've never been that comfortable with that. So I'm an American. 100%.
Well, there are linguists that say that the reason or the origin of the Southern accent was really a slowing down of the British accent.
Yes, you're correct, John. In fact, I had to learn to slow down and articulate so that people could understand me. From my part of England, people tend to speak fast and with not great articulation. So coming to America certainly improved my speech. Well, then I was a teacher. I worked with children in the school system for 20 years. And you've got to be understood, especially if you're working with middle schoolers. That's a whole nother conversation.
that can open up a whole nother conversation. Well, you have got a great array of experience to dip into. And tell us where you're based now, because you tried to retire. Rebekah was going to retire. Your wife is a pastor, and you went to Wake Forest, North Carolina for the last 10 years, where you've had a wonderful, wonderful experience in your church home. And she was going to retire. And then 2 weeks later, she took another assignment. So where are you now?
So right now we're living in Tarboro, Tarboro, which is 65 miles east of Raleigh. So we're renting a house over there because we believe that if you're going to be a pastor in a community, and a family, you have to invest yourself in that community like you do through the Osprey Observer. I know interim or short-term pastors who just commute, but we weren't going to do that. So we rented an old house in the historic district of Tarboro. It's a wonderful old town, just 10,000 people. So it's got not just that southern charm, but it's got some of the rural aspects to it. And people are so welcoming and so friendly. But it's culturally, it's really a gem. I describe Tarboro as a country or as a town which is self-confident, classy, and doesn't have much humility. They know who they are, and the church is strong, and the town is the county seat, and it's really a gem. We're having a wonderful experience there with the church and getting them ready to call a full-time permanent pastor, hopefully this time next year.
We see
how wonderful. And you are
go ahead, Marie.
I was going to say, you're already living the dream that most of us have, right? We want to retire a little bit further north where there's maybe a little bit of seasons.
Seasons, yes.
The idyllic small town just sounds great to me, because raising my family in Lithia, Brandon, Valrico, Apollo Beach, Ruskin has been fantastic. I wouldn't change it for the world, but we're missing that small town charm. So we really enjoy Plant City because it has a downtown core. Yes. And it has the boulevard, and we're really enjoying that. So saying, oh, where do you live? Well, I live just east of Tampa, kind of southeast Hillsborough County. We don't have that. So I really love covering stories on Lakeland and Plant City because they have that core. And that just sounds like the idyllic town where you are now. So thank you so much for joining us. Oh, there's a but. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got to then give a boost to Brandon. We lived in Brandon for 17 years. And what an amazing community and what amazing people there. So it may not have small town charm, but it has charming people who are wonderful. So, but seasons, what a great idea. Florida should try that.
Oh, no, we would never raise our family anywhere else. We absolutely love our community. We love getting involved in our community, but I just miss that little downtown core. We kind of sometimes call Winthrop our downtown because It's got that walkability and that they do markets and they do great things. So it's here. We have the best people ever, and we are 110,000 people and growing, and we've got everything we need to make a great family community.
Excellent.
But I think you're living the dream, and we appreciate you writing for us and continuing to send your columns in, and we appreciate your partnership. So tell people how they can get a hold of you, Derek, or your blog or your website.
I think the simplest way to find me is derekmaul.blog, DerekMaul.blog. And that's where the action is. That's where you can see what's going on pretty much every day of the week, and great photography on that blog. That's one of my hobbies.
And what a beautiful hobby to have. That is wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for what you share with us and our readers. And we can't wait to see what your next column will bring.
Hey, my pleasure. And Johnny, good to meet you. And Marie, what a pleasure to speak with you.
You Same too, here. Derek. We got to do this more often, maybe an annual catch up. Okay. Have a great afternoon, Derek.
Take care.